What's up, Kosova? This is Coach Q. I'm your host for the upcoming podcast called Never the Right Time. We are on every Tuesdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. 103.5, 105.5 Urban FM. We're going to be talking all things around health, fitness, lifestyle. Please check us out. Here's a quick shout out to our sponsors, 5-Star Fitness and Onze Recovery. 5-Star Fitness, goes without saying, we need to be active nowadays. It's a must. And to help with this, 5-Star Fitness, with locations across the country, has established itself as the place to pursue your fitness goals. Now, Onze Recovery, let's talk about stress from daily life, leaving us depleted, in need of that reboot. Onze Recovery offers different types of therapies to help you recover from the daily stresses, especially when we are limited with time. Welcome to another episode of Never the Right Time. This is your host, Kyuta, or aka Coach Q, for those that know me at the gym. This is 103.5, 105.5 Urban FM, and today I am sitting with Florina.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. And
Thank you
Florina,
for having me.
Yes, absolutely. It's an honor. And Florina, well, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself, but in more detail, but is the owner of Thana. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, it's Thana Rosticeri.
Yes. Full disclosure, it's arguably probably one of my favorite restaurants. I'm completely biased when I
Thank
go
you.
there. I will
It's
eat.
always a pleasure.
Yes. Appetizer, I try to eat every dish almost. So again, thank you for joining me. Today, the idea is I just want to have a chat around all food, Freudian slip there, already talking about food, but food related to fitness, obviously. But certainly in terms of your business, I find it very interesting what you guys are trying to achieve. And hopefully we can kind of navigate around what can be a bit confusing around bio, natural, organic, these kind of things. And also the importance of like knowing where your food comes from, right?
Yeah.
So let's start off with like a little bit of who you are, what you do, and where you do it.
Yeah, thank you. I am Florina Skeja, and sorry, I have a sore throat a bit, and I might be like trying to clear it from time to time. For my entire life, I have been doing something completely different. I have been trained in finances and economy, and I have been managing finances. So I have been CFO in several organizations, and the last one in our company with my husband. But I always did a lot of human resources, quality management, and in the end I was certified as quality management, but then in change management leadership. So I did all these sorts of things that were connected to business psychology. After finances, I was very good at it, but it was really tough and it made me sick. And I also, since I was a small kid, because our father used to just pack us after we finished our schools for the summer holidays and send us to our village where we still have our estate. And he would teach us how to grow, together with our mom, how to grow food, how to make cheese, how to make bread, how to catch fish, fresh fish, how to cook it, how to forage. So we would spend 3 months there, no TV, no phones, books, and healthy food.
Where was
sunbathing.
This exactly?
This is in the region of Peja, it's near Banja Peja. The village is called Dubov, and it's between waters. It's like very near the Radavc, so the Drini river runs there, so we would stay there during the summer, and then from there we would go to Ulcin or the Montenegro part because it would be close, and then we would come back again to the countryside. And then when we would come to Pristina would feel deserted, dry, ugly, even though we always hated it because we would get separated from our company, from our friends.
Yeah.
But now when I go back, I really appreciate that because they gave us the foundation of appreciating the food and learning that the food comes from the ground, and also where the milk comes and how you do that and how you have to ferment and all these, and especially the foraging. That was the great part. And also my father was also a chemist who his specialty was waters, protection of waters, and also he was in the field of organic food and environmentalism. So yeah, it came.
So growing up, it forms a pretty important part of your life already.
Yes, of course. So it's my entire life. I was like aware what is good. I could taste, I could feel what is fake and what is not. I could feel, I still do, if it's a fake or analog cream, I can feel it immediately. So, and it makes me sick. Because when you are used to, then your organism can immediately send you the signals, this is not okay, this, you can feel it, it's in your mouth that this is not okay. So don't eat it. And that's a part that people forget, that we have become who we are as humans through our evolution of where we grew up, what we were eating, and we have to remember that. Yeah,
because it's often, I think, and this is maybe a separate conversation, but like when it comes to allergies or intolerances, I mean, there's a number of reasons why these are increasing, but it does seem like it's almost, maybe safe bet is exaggerated, but like what your ancestors were eating is probably going to be fine for you too, right?
Exactly. It was really interesting for me when we did the DNA test, and then I was into reading a lot and into forums discussing these issues, and then I found out that Asians cannot process lactose because they didn't, their predecessor, it wasn't available. Whereas also we in south of Europe, at a certain age, we cannot stand it. And then I saw that in my mom, because at a certain point she couldn't stand milk in her coffee, and then she stopped totally taking milk. Yes, yogurt, but not milk.
Is that because of the rawness?
Yes, we cannot, in the South Europe, we cannot process the raw milk, whereas in Western Europe, yes, they can. And these people who moved from Western Europe to US, they still can, because they are predecessors. Their DNA has been developed. So DNA is like from its nature nurture. So you train it slowly, and
and I guess
that
if they
says a lot.
Stop, then eventually maybe they become also right?
Yes. So it takes time, but it develops. I see when people try to sell me Hanukkah honey, I say no, thank you, because that is from far away, and that can create me disturbances. You have to always have your honey, local honey.
Really?
Yes.
So there's a lot, I think, and probably something that might resonate with a lot of people is, well, maybe, I guess the relationship with food is very personal, right?
It is.
But there's a lot, I think, that we take for granted. And it's
We
because
forget.
of this kind of with each revolution, and especially with the most recent one, the digital one, like, the food comes to us. We don't go anymore, right?
Exactly.
And then for there, when we become a bit numb to that, like the thought of like, where is this coming from? Because seasons don't matter anymore, right? Everything is sort of imported and all this, and so when it's so accessible, it's just what do I want? What do I feel like? right?
Yes. Seasonal is very important, and also the Asian culture that knows very well because they do a lot of fermenting, and fermentation is really good. And the problem in Kosovo now, and I had that as well, is that people with this new technologies and fast food and everything, they stopped fermenting the food. They started just pickling.
Okay. Oh.
So the pickling creates a lot of problems in your stomach because they put sugar to fast forward to do it faster, and they would use vinegars, and really bad vinegars, not the natural ones that have been fermented. And then you get this bad, and you say, okay, no fermented food for me because it upsets my stomach.
But actually, it's the other way around.
It's the other way around, because fermentation creates probiotics, and it's good for your gut. And then plastic.
Yes, that is something that really is scary, because I think there's been more and more studies where they analyze, like, and sorry if anyone's eating while they listen to this, but like when they analyze stool samples, the amount of plastic,
microplastics is and it's known as a hormonal disruptor.
Yes.
So hormonal disruptor, people might just brush it off. Oh, no, it's so dangerous for men and for women.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad for you, because hormones regulate us.
Yeah.
And we forget that. And we forget also, as you said, food comes to us, and we are on the run, and we just want to fill our stomach and get going. So we forget the nourishment. We forget that it's not only fuel, but we need also minerals, we need also vitamins, we need also these probiotics that come, micronutrients to regulate us. Because otherwise, if we get junk, our hormones will get really disturbed, and then we might get all these problems, and then we want a shortcut and get some medicine just to, and the root cause is never. So we go on and we go on and we go on. And
it's basically sort of you are what you consume, right?
Exactly.
And so it's really become a product of the environment.
Exactly.
And I think more and more we can probably identify it's a handful of conglomerate, like multinationals, that are just creating all these ultra processed foods, right? Big companies, unfortunately, right? And then the follow-up in terms of the solution is big pharma.
Yes.
Right? So
trying to feed the people
even more chemicals. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
in the name of trying to make profit.
Exactly. And then we forget.
Yeah.
And we get carried away, and we just want a quick solution. Lately, I just would like to say this. I have been reading a lot of microbiome and its importance, and it's the latest studies. They address a lot that our gut and the profile of our microbiome can predict our also psychological issues, depression, and also other diseases, autoimmune.
Well, I think solely more to add to that, it's been sort of, well, it's really interesting because the ancient philosophers, like all these feelings, like gut feeling and all this, right? They were already kind of onto it, right?
Yes.
And then you have all these expressions, at least in English, like having butterflies in your stomach.
Yes.
You know, just kind of
yes.
It's, I think there's been of recent, it's like, oh, it's the second brain, but now it's more and more actually, wait a minute, it might be the first.
It
right?
might be the first, because it's the organism that is directly influenced or communicates with the things from the outside and brings inside and decides what to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's not the brain, it's the gut. And then when we are giving something bad to it, our organism gets just crushed, and it says, "Come on, man, don't give me this."
Yeah.
But you still continue.
Yeah, I can probably tell. Like my gut is often upset with me. In terms
Yes,
of,
angry.
yes, because
All these signals.
The brain wins. Like
Yes.
I eat with my eyes,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, that's it's really an interesting relationship. But I think more and more, it's something that needs to be kind of like taken a closer look at, right?
Yes.
On an individual level already too, right?
Yes,
So,
because now we have all these modern diseases, like there is IBS, there is like a gluten intolerance, and all these kind of blah blah blah. And the only problem is that how do you get gluten intolerance if you're not treating your gut properly? And also the grains are not what they used to be.
no.
And the pesticides and herbicides are killing our microbiome.
Yes.
And plus, we have these modified grains
Yes,
who
for
have a lot more gluten than they used to.
Yes, so I think there's a lot where surely because of these technological advancements, and again, it's to yield more crops,
Yes.
to make more money, to
Yes.
produce more whatever.
Yes.
But like, I think a lot of people probably aren't actually gluten tolerant. It's just they're eating something that's not what they're used to anymore,
No.
right? And then
Their body doesn't like it. It says, "What is this? I don't
and by
recognize
continuing
this."
to do so because it
Yes.
starts off maybe as an intolerance and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's sort of how maybe it was something else, or it's and
Yeah, but your body tells you, "Come on, this is not what I'm used to. This, you shouldn't give me this. Okay, give me another grain, but don't give me this."
Yeah.
And how I understood that I had, for ages, I had my stomach problems, acidity and Helicobacterium, the H. pylori. And I was taking medicines, shortcut, as always. So every second year I had to get these antibiotics, which are really horrible.
They
They
destroy
taste
the
like-
gut.
They destroy you
Yeah.
inside out. And then I just realized, come on, Florina, you have to sit on this yourself and find the solution yourself. And then it said, okay, sugars are helping you to grow H. pylori. You are a form of H. pylori in your gut. Why? All these sugars in your food. So you have a burger, there's sugar in the bun, there's sugar 25% in the ketchup.
Yeah,
It's
these sauces,
sugar.
right? The sauces are
Full of
are
sugar.
killer almost.
Yeah. And then they also use in other sauces and also in the meat. Why? So in my restaurant, there are no sugars in your meat, no sugars in your bread, no sugars in your pasta or whatever we're serving. Sugar is in the dessert, and that is reduced.
But
Because
it's
you
also
don't need-
from natural sources.
Of
right?
course, organic
Yeah.
and not white sugar, but at least you get some minerals, but reduced. We always reduce. Because why should I have all that sugar in my burger and have a cola and then have a dessert, a big apple pie in the end? Come on. And then I realized, and how to heal your gut? I had to quit all my carbs for 1 year. And since then on, I don't have any problems with my gut anymore, ever.
So there's a couple things because I definitely want to also dive into sort of your business. We've kind of just like skipped past that,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
definitely something. But it's interesting you bring up sort of the how do you call it? Well, when if you have these intolerances and whatnot, yes, there is the quick fix. Part of it is, I think, on the medical side, where sometimes the literature is not caught up, right?
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it's sort of just standard practice to keep doing what they've been doing versus like, hey, maybe we need to kind of... So there's a bit of a lag there, right? And also, I think, depending on the doctor, maybe they don't...
The problem is this. There are studies, a lot, that confirm this and that we are talking about. But the industry is not catching up because it's costly.
There's an ulterior motive, right?
It's costly.
Yeah.
how would a huge company stop producing a painkiller?
Yeah. So it's this vicious cycle, right? So,
Yeah. Why would they stop producing these antibiotics for your gut?
Mhm.
You see,
Yeah. But
it's difficult.
I really like, and you're not the only person. I know a few people in terms of trying to tackle their own, let's say, digestive issues, is sort of like, okay, kind of looking at almost like, this is X, Y, and Z. This is all that I consume. Start to eliminate stuff and it's sometimes it's a very slow or
It is a slow
consuming
process.
process because you have to kind of understand, all right, which food is it? You probably have certain ideas, but then you kind of almost have to hypothesize, try it on yourself, and then it's like, okay, feel still the same, so this is maybe something else, right? And then gradually
it's you have to there are a lot of things on internet, but then you have to be careful and just you have to try it. For me, for example, I was having these problems and it became so bad and I didn't know what to eat, and then I would go like, let's eat just some steamed rice, nothing well in it, because you always think fats. We can talk about fats and all that. And because you were bombed that fats are bad. And then you say, okay, just steamed rice. And then you have like eating stones. And then you don't realize, because you are made to believe that fats are bad. Sugar is not bad.
I don't know how it started
Rice
in Europe,
is not,
but in US, basically it was, certain companies that paid these doctors to produce a study, right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, everyone's all of a sudden getting sick because they're consuming that much more sugar.
Yes.
We need something that's saturated fats is the devil, right?
Yeah. And then when I went on reading, they said, okay, rice, starchy, potato, starchy. Bread and this and that. It's not only sugar, it's everything, all the carbohydrates.
And steamed, especially white rice, is like really high on the glycemic index, right?
Very high.
I'm part Asian and I love it, and I will choose it over bread.
I love it. And especially the basmati. It's perfect.
There's so many,
it's so good.
many different rices.
But now I can eat it and I have no problem, because I cured my gut. Now it's no problem, but I had to do it for 1 year, and medicine was not helping. Every second year. So for 6
probably
times.
Like there was maybe a bit temporary relief, but actually you're probably taking a step backwards, right? Every
you just
time
go
you're
back.
going through this kind of routine.
So you have to be aware. What are you doing? Why is that? You have to educate yourself. And then if you go and read, H. pylori will grow in acidic environment, and we are like stupidly believe that lemon is acidic. No, lemon is not acidic. But then all these starches and all the sugar, they transform in our gut into acids, and then the H. pylori just grows there. There are things that we have to teach ourselves.
I mean,
because no one is going to do it for you.
It's taking responsibility, right?
Yes.
Being accountable for that.
Yes.
And in terms of being a trainer, sometimes just I do dabble into nutrition when asked, and often, there's there's a few rule of thumbs almost that I would tell my clients, and okay, it's not like you have to be so strict on yourself, but if you pick up a packet and within the first, because the ingredients list it's by almost the amount, right? It starts kind of thing. If within the first 3, let's say, there's something that you do not understand or can't even pronounce,
don't.
The chances are it's not good for you. Yeah, exactly,
it's not
right?
Food.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of that, right? So, and then it's also, it is hard to navigate, because when you go through, already supermarket, how the aisles are designed, it's on purpose, right?
Yes.
It's kind of, and it's sort of also I mean, the color coding and all this traffic light system, it's almost blinding, right? So then people are like, oh, well, they make these associations of like, well, already flavoring is color coded, for example, but even more so in terms of like green packaging is supposed to be organic or, like it hints at these.
That is the most evil one.
I think I hit a nerve, did I?
Yeah.
But
they do it on purpose.
Yeah. It's all calculated.
Yes.
Right. And it's really
It's a marketing because I have been trained. Also, I was very good at marketing. I had very high score because I got into it so easily. And they do this psychological stuff on you.
Yeah.
That's why I was so much interested in business psychology, because they condition you into believing.
And there's a reason why.
Link from here to pop, you pick it up and you don't know why.
And there's reason where, like, you won't name it, but these giant conglomerates that really control the food market, the reason why they're so big, right? Like, and they apply almost the same principles to whichever brands they
That's why
own.
the biggest and most successful business psychology companies or organizations are in US. Both that try to help you and those who try to help the companies.
Let's take I guess maybe a pivot, if you can call it that. But I'd like to kind of just explore, just have you describe a little bit about Thana. And then also what it would be really interesting is another, before I forget, because I might forget in terms of the topics, is sort of like some tips and tricks, I guess, having been on the other side as a marketeer as well, like to navigate like a supermarket, right? And then also touching upon sort of like what does bio, natural, organic actually mean? And certainly within Kosovo, right?
Yes.
So let's start with Thana.
Yes. So why Thana? Thana happened because I had this passion of food and cooking. I have been cooking since I was little for a huge party of people every time. And I enjoyed it. And I would have all these recipe books. My father, when he would travel, he would bring me like really good books because he knew that. Also my mom. It came also from my mom. She was like really. And I never met my grandmother from my mother's side, but she always told me how she was a great cook and her recipes and stuff like that. So it's sort of
in the family DNA.
Yeah. So it grew on me, and I really developed it. And so I was good at what I was doing before, but then I got sick because I didn't listen to my body. And even though I was trying all the time, but still all the pressure, finances and this, they push you. And also psychologically, it's so many things that can make you sick. And the doctors realized that I had cancer. So I went through first one. They said you don't need any radiation or any therapy, but then it came back. I didn't learn the lesson first time, so I continued with my consultancy and tough work. And so it came back. And when it came back, it hit me. And then, I was depressed for about a year. I didn't want to live anymore. But then my husband pushed me to, address it. And I started my chemo for 5 months. It was horrible. And since then, I said, I'm never going to go back to what I was doing because it was making me sick. I was good at it, but it wasn't good. Sitting in the office 12 hours.
The price that you were paying for, right? Yeah.
And then I said, okay, I always dreamed of having my restaurant. And also my brother in Germany, he's still in Germany, traitor.
Shout out to the brother.
He said, okay, I'm planning to come back. I don't want to stay here. Shall we do something? I said, yeah, he said, why don't we do it back in our countryside, the agroturismo or something like that.
Okay.
Wow, great idea.
Yeah.
I have just a guy, because for years I was not buying meat in shops or eggs or so. I said, I have just the place and I have where to get the produce from. And then I started to do the project and everything, picked the place and did the contracts. And then he said, no, but my daughter won't let me. She's afraid, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. And then I said, okay, I'm not going to say no to these farmers.
Yeah.
So I might go ahead and do something small in Pristina, not in the countryside, because it would be too much for me. If he was around, yes, because I trust him. He's so good, man. Great manager.
Okay.
He's into quality management, top.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, let's do something small, a small restaurant, but not a restaurant. Slow cook, fast served. That was my idea.
Yeah.
But everything not certifiably organic, but where I know where I'm getting the produce from, the people I know, and the way they are doing, growing the produce and producing. And and
people you trusted, right?
People I trusted, because
and
I
it's
was
locally sourced.
Completely locally sourced, apart from olive oil, because I cannot use any other oils. And then we can go into that in detail.
Okay.
And also butter only from Shari Mountain.
Okay.
Otherwise I wouldn't, because it's the best. And there are good other butters.
Yeah, sure. No, this is great.
That's the best.
I'm taking notes. I'm going to go to the supermarket and try to look
you
for it.
won't find it.
Okay. Oh.
But we can help you. We can order for you. I wanted a restaurant where I would feel comfortable eating, and I don't want to cheat, and I cannot. It's food. Food is health, so I simply cannot. And many times my husband says, you are too harsh on yourself. People do not appreciate it. They are price sensitive, and also they go after like comfort, quick, cevapi, pleskavica and stuff like that. Pizza.
Guilty as charged.
Pizza. Yeah, we do that.
Sure. Yeah.
I used to do myself. And then, but I don't want to. Otherwise, I will just shut down. In the beginning, we had a lot of people coming, but then it was a COVID time, and we were shut down by the government. Not only us, all the businesses several times, and then people started to change their behavior, and they started to get food from home because they were afraid of COVID, and suddenly they were not coming back.
I mean, it was tough,
and at the end
for the service industry as a whole, right?
And at the end of the day, they said, "What is that?" That is a sandwich. But that they didn't realize that the bread, the sourcing of flour and everything was so careful.
Yeah.
And also we would make our own sauces. We would use only yogurt it's homemade. We would buy the milk from the farmer. I ordered personally appliance for making yogurt and cheeses from Italy, and it took me several months to bring it. And we would only use yogurt and we would make sauces ourselves from our tomatoes from our farm. And we would use only olive oil, which is certified organic, extra virgin. Yeah. It's very expensive from Albania.
Okay.
Because I'm crazy.
but okay,
and I have wild herbs and stuff like that.
But that, I think it really, sort of, I have, sorry to interrupt. I have two questions there. So one is sort of like, how much did you already know how to do all this? Like, was there certain stuff that you just, all right, we're going to do this because it's sort of like almost the pursuit of perfection, if you can call it that, right? Everything you wanted to be, sort of because of this sort of like the standard you set for yourself, right?
Yes, that's the way I was feeding myself, my family. And as I said, for years I didn't buy in shops. I was baking for, I don't know, ages. I don't buy bread. So I would make my own yogurt. I would all these things I would do at home.
Okay.
And I would feed my sons, myself, my husband, wherever we could, that way. So that came from there.
Okay.
Because I was making sandwiches for our sons while they were at school. They wouldn't eat in their cantina. They hated that food. So we would have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do the fresh sandwiches with like the fresh meat and everything. They wouldn't like
The last time I was at your restaurant, I think your husband shared me a really funny anecdote
yes.
about this.
He was the best mom, didn't he? Yes. Yeah. After some years, I said, "You take over. Here are the recipes. I need some rest because I was exhausted. We were working like 12 hours a day, and I had to wake up and say,
and
no,
to
take
make
over."
these sandwiches from scratch. Really scratch, right?
Like,
yeah.
So we wouldn't use mayonnaise or these kind of stuff. Even if sometimes, because you love mayonnaise, I love mayonnaise. I would make it at home sometimes, but then some shops started to open in Tirana, certified organic, and then we sometimes would get organic mayonnaise.
Okay.
You can find it now in Pristina as well.
Okay.
But most of the stuff was made, and I would teach my sons how to make homemade mayonnaise. It's easy, and they would do it. So it took off from there because it's something that you have done for many years, and it's just natural. And when people ask me, "Who is the chef?" and I say, "Me." Have you been trained as chef? No. And how do you know? How do you come up with this? It's natural. I cannot explain it because I have been doing since I was 6. I mean, I would tell my mom, "I'm coming from school and don't cook today because I want to try this recipe myself. I'm going to make the lunch myself today." So it's, I don't know.
The curiosity and
It just comes, I would study these cookbooks that my father brought to me at that time in Yugoslavia. All those herbs, we didn't know what that is. All this Asian stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God, when am I gonna touch this?" And then I knew the recipes before even seeing these things, these products.
Wow. Yeah,
I would study them.
Yeah, and plus, like from a young age, because of like
you
that
absorb.
environment, and you probably through the foraging and all these different activities, you've probably
you learn the principles.
And your palate must have been so sophisticated to be
a
able
bit too
to
much.
already, right?
It's a bit too much. I'm like a super taster. It's called. Yeah,
That because growing up, I knew that if it was a different taste, let alone a strange taste, the reaction is like, right? Like you're just
So I try to teach also my kids to eat everything. And my elder son, he wouldn't like mushrooms. He would say, "I don't like mushrooms." Or my husband would say, "I don't like rocket salad," and I would like
try to
put it somewhere, and now they do. They eat it. So I told them
because
in
it's
early ages to appreciate it.
And it's like
everything.
Overriding
because variety
one sense,
is important.
right? And then like maybe approaching it with a different sense, right?
Of course, like you don't like mushrooms? Okay, potato mushrooms. He loves potato. It's easy.
Yeah.
In the soup.
Because sometimes maybe as a kid, like if it looks weird too, you're like, "No, I don't want it."
You don't
and then
want
you actually taste it in maybe a different form. It's like, wait, that was actually not too bad. Like,
yeah. And so then it's you have to train your palate. You have to but variety is very important.
Okay.
And that's why I tried hard for my kids to learn, to teach them, to train, to appreciate the variety, because with variety you get everything you need for your nourishment.
Yeah.
So that's important as well.
And then so going back to sort of when, let's say, going through COVID, then there was a bit of a downturn, and then post-COVID, then like how have things kind of changed?
So since the people stopped coming, then we had suddenly our clientele changed because apart from these sandwiches, we called them Thana because they were not actually just sandwiches. Fully artisanal and full of taste. We decided, and we had some specialties. We will call them specialties of the day. And we started to get clients who would come only for those specialties. And then they said, why don't you transform into a real restaurant? And I said, I don't have a guts, because we were working short hours until 6 and we would close, and it was convenient for me. And slowly then after this, and people of sandwiches were not coming back, they started to circulate that we are expensive, and still we are considered as one plate is 100 euros in a restaurant. So we are considered expensive, and said, after 1 year, we decided to close. We close usually, and the whole staff goes for holidays. It was the end of summer. And we said, let's transform and let's become a real restaurant with a bit more finer food than what we have in Pristina and in Kosovo. And we started also to have these special dinners with chef's menu, where I was the chef, and my husband says, why do you call it chef's menu? You're the chef. Okay, but I'm the chef and it's my chef's menu. So we did that. We also had pop-ups with Faisal Demiray from Noma. He used to be sous chef for 6 years in Noma. A great guy. And girls learned a lot from him, and we also
shout out to your team. They're really nice.
They are great. They are the best.
Group.
They are the best. And Faisal said, you have the great team here. And then we saw that we are on right track, and we continue still with our special dinners. And we are trying to build a scene in Kosovo, or first in Pristina, of fine dining. It's not easy because, as my husband says, I'm very tough with myself because I don't want to sacrifice the quality. I don't want to go for cheaper price. It's still difficult, but people have started to notice us and to...
Well, I think what you do is very unique, right?
Yeah. And we try to... we are strictly seasonal. We ferment our vegetables because now it's the... And also every year we have a farmer who farms for us. Yeah. And when we have a hyper production, as we had this year with peppers, hot peppers, we've made a lot of sauces.
I've been using the little tub. Yes.
How is that?
And I really enjoy it. I do have to be careful though.
Be very careful,
because occasionally, like when I think I put I used it for something, and then just nonchalantly I just licked the spoon.
My
and
God.
then it was like, that was not
a good idea.
It's like, okay.
My God.
So it's like that was a little too much.
It is. Yeah, you have to be careful. But we had a hyper production of that, and then we decided to do this. So we built our menu around what we have.
Yeah.
So it's... People say, isn't it hard but girls, I mean, my team, they say, no, we wouldn't go to like same every day, every year, no, it's boring. They want to be creative as well. I mean, we found one another, I guess. And so it's not difficult for us. We say, okay, what do we have today? So let's build the menu around it. What is finished this is finished. What do we have? Okay, let's transform it into this. So we work with what we have every day.
And like that, the relationship with the, let's say, the sourcing of all these different foods. I'm sure, like, those, let's say, partners, rather than calling them suppliers, right?
They are more partners. We have a good relationship with each of them. Yeah, and there has to be a trust, and there has to be like
because someone
readiness
could easily say,
to
like,
do it
it's
strictly,
organic or whatever.
Yeah,
and
they have to do it strictly.
Okay. Like, it must have been. I mean, the sourcing part is probably just as much fun, I would imagine, to like.
It is. People say, is it difficult? Yes, it is difficult, but it's so much fun.
Discovering that maybe, you produce this kind of,
like some people come because they have started to notice us and to hear about us, and they say, I have this produce.
Oh, wow.
And yesterday a lady came, she brought her homemade liquor with aronia berry. Okay. And it's perfectly organic, because I know I grow my aronias and they can grow perfectly organic.
What kind of berry is this?
It's chokeberry in English.
Okay.
It looks like blueberry.
Yeah.
And it was once it was considered like a superfood. It is healthy, but not for me. It's healthy for me, but I have to be very careful because my blood pressure is low and it can just.
Oh, okay.
So for the people who have high blood pressure, taking its juice, it's really good.
Okay.
So, but a lot of antioxidants and stuff like that. And she made this liquor perfectly organic with honey and some herbs, and it was lovely. She just came to me
because she heard about what you guys are doing.
I know that. And sometimes people come to you and you find out about all these wonderful people as for a start, and their wonderful produce, or people who pick mushrooms, and then you realize, oh my God, we have also these sorts of mushrooms in Kosovo. They are gorgeous. Oh, wow. And then you realize that we have all sorts of mushrooms in Kosovo, only apart from shiitake and these king oyster, but these grow also, and we get it directly from the producer. Because we also previous acquaintances, and you try to keep contacts with them, and then when they realize what you're doing, they try to work with you. So it's nice, it's fun, and you meet a lot of interesting people.
You touch upon, like, I think one thing that's really interesting is, and I think for someone who coming from the outside, like myself, like the food scene is really a pleasant surprise, even with, like, let's say the ciabattore and all these.
They are delicious.
Yes. I just love it. Yeah.
You can't get enough of it.
I think a lot of people are just because, what you don't know, right? And when you come and then you start to kind of explore, you see how rich, like, the food scene is. I think also what's surprising is, like, there is, I think that at least this then impression that has developed for me personally is that from an agricultural standpoint, there is a lot that is on offer, right? But it has to be maybe sought out in some ways, right? So is it, like, maybe to give a little bit of perspective of, like, what that scene or industry is like in Kosovo, and then it'd be great to just kind of understand from maybe Kosovo, like with the Kosovo filter of, like, again, before the we started recording, we had a brief chat around, like, bio, natural, organic. Again, these are perceived as marketing terms as well now, right? But like, kind of how certain terms are regulated and others are not, right? In different regions as well, differently, right? So it'd be good to maybe just kind of touch upon that. And, like, I think for you, when you deal with these partners as well, right? There's also your understanding of, like, hey, this is how I want it, right? Like,
yes. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's difficult to do it. It's tough to do it. I cannot do it. But then I tell them, okay, there's plant companion.
Okay.
When like, for example, if you use herbs among your vegetables, you will protect them, because these pests will immediately go to the herbs because they are tender, and so they wouldn't go after your tomatoes, but they would go after the basil. Okay. And also the basil will help the tomatoes develop more flavor. Our tomatoes this year were gorgeous. I couldn't taste any other tomato.
Wow.
And there are a lot of tricks. And then you can use milk as a pesticide,
Okay.
diluted milk,
Uh-huh.
on your vegetables. There are all sorts of ways to protect without using.
So this is something that I guess if
And
one
then,
of the partners is like kind of
I
struggling,
have-
then you kind of advise
Yeah,
them on it.
I have to advise them and send the list of the companion planting, how to do it and stuff like that. So there are ways to do it. If you want to do it at home, you can do it easily. So we are very careful with our sourcing. And I also, since I also used to work with the regional environmental center, and I also had all this bringing up from my parents. But there are some certain rules that, for example, if you get wild herbs, salads, and these that you from foraging, that's number one organic stuff that you don't have to worry about.
Okay.
So if you go and they are selling nettles, get it. Nettles are perfect for your health. You can do pasta with it, you can do soup with it, you can do pie with it, proper
Okay.
burek or
Yes.
lakror, as we say it. It's perfect. Then there is also other herbs that you can forage, and unfortunately Kosovars have forgotten about it, but a lot of them you can find in Albania. But here, if you go out and forage, you can find so many, but a lot of people sell it. Another one, instead of spinach. Spinach is always in the list of dirty dozens in US. You can easily go Google it, dirty dozen, and they give you the list and what produce is the worst, most heavily pesticized. And why is that? And it's so logical. What do you use mostly daily? You use spinach on everything.
Okay.
Smoothies and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Spinach, yeah.
'Cause
it's healthy.
Yes.
But when it's grown healthy,
Yeah.
and now it's heavily pesticized, but it's because it's sought after. Apples, cherries, all these superfoods, strawberries, peaches, celery is the worst.
Okay.
Potatoes. So you just see, okay, what is the offer there? It's these potatoes, a lot of apples, spinach, celeries, like if you want to lose weight.
Yeah. Right. It's low calories and like people run to
These are heavily pesticized, and you can always just check on the dirty dozen list. Sometimes EU also has the list of these dirty dozen, and then you just use the logic. Okay, so what am I going to replace spinach with? Swiss chard. Nobody cares about it.
The poor Swiss chard.
Poor Swiss chard.
Yeah.
No one cares about it. So you will find a lot of Swiss chard in the season in our restaurant.
Okay.
Or other wild herbs that we can get hands on. And so we don't use spinach, only if I know how.
Okay.
Have I grown it? And it's so difficult to grow. We tried so many times with our farmers.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to grow spinach.
Wow. Okay.
And so, Swiss chard,
Yeah.
all sorts, colorful, beautiful, tasty.
Yeah.
So you go for that. So if you next time when you go to the market, especially the big market,
Yeah.
you can find these.
Okay.
Always go for the less sought after produce.
Because chances are.
These are not sprayed.
Ah. Okay.
Because no one gives a damn about them.
But then, like, why do they still produce them if they don't like? Is there a reason?
Those people who sell Swiss chard, they
just really passionate about-
they grow it for themselves because it grows easily,
Okay.
and pesticides and herbicides are costly,
Yeah. That too.
so that grows much easier than the spinach, and they do it for themselves.
And then
And
whatever
extra,
left over- Okay.
they sell it.
Okay. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, then onions and garlic, don't bother buying organic because they don't absorb that at all. So onions and garlic are always safe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to throw money on it. Melon.
When you say that, meaning like when there's garlic, onions, and then there's organic garlic, onions.
Don't bother.
Just get the.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Never throw money
so that's
on
where
organic.
it's sort of like they're just ripping you off.
Yes.
Like, okay. Interesting.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
But they don't absorb at all. That's why they are so healthy. You have to get them.
Okay.
Because they are, yeah. But then, also melon. Outside doesn't go anything inside because really thick water, especially like watermelon.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing with melons, you have to wash them because you can always get all these sorts of bacteria on the outside.
Yeah.
Same with cucumber. You have to wash it.
Yeah.
I usually use soap to kill the bacteria.
Okay.
But they are safe.
Okay. This is great. This is like some great tips here. Like, yeah.
But lemons and oranges, no, because they have a porous skin and it can enter and they can become toxic.
So that you want to kind of make sure
that you want to not be sprayed.
Okay, so organic, what would...
Mostly, you don't need 100% certifiable organic, but this is how you can tell. If I buy a lemon in Albania, I have a farmer, and all this citrus, I buy only from one person. And when I buy from you can do a test. Leave it out, not in the fridge for 2-3 days, it gets rotten. It's organic.
Oh, okay. So
you have to be really careful how to. Otherwise, those will last forever until they just shrivel.
It's like I think you've probably seen like sort of the the famous like fast food experiment where they left like a burger, right, and it didn't rot for so long kind of thing, right?
No, it doesn't. Yeah. You know, the McDonald's potatoes.
They're already rotten to begin with, right?
Yeah,
actually,
that's not food. They have to leave them for a month to detoxify a bit because they are so toxic.
Yeah.
And potatoes and these are not safe. I haven't been eating potatoes for a very long time. And now from time to time I go and buy organic chips because I love chips. And my guilty pleasure. Yeah. But it's organic.
Okay.
Even though it's fried, not good, but then I do it from time to time.
From time to time, it's sort of, there's the concept of hormesis as well, right? Like, and I think a little bit of pleasure is fine. But then
but not to be the rule. That's it. Just don't do it every day.
Exactly. That's when...
From time to time, yeah.
And I think when for, the people like... when they, and from a fitness standpoint, when, obviously there's going to be themes or goals such as, I want to lose weight, et cetera, et cetera. And it's sort of like, people have to also remind themselves, this didn't happen overnight, right?
No.
And it's basically a culmination of your lifestyle habits that led to this, right? Same is sort of when it comes to sort of injuries as well, unless it's like a blunt force trauma type of unfortunate kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, pain is already when, we've crossed that barrier, right? But it's been happening little by little all this time. And the same thing is with like... It's
building up.
From time to time, pizza or chips, fine.
Yeah, great. Do it.
Because they're great. Yeah. It's really tasty foods, right?
It is.
But... if you really look back and it's like, okay, well, actually the last 3 months, that's all I've been eating or whatever, right? Like, then it's like, well, of course, then, it builds up.
Unfortunately, sometimes we do it. We are not aware of it. As you said, lifestyle. We might have some bad months at work or with family or whatever, and then we just binge eating, and
then that's where the relationship is very personal and with each person. And I think like we don't take, it's really hard, and I'm not saying it's easy, but like that kind of it all comes down to sort of like working within, right? Sort of, and understanding that relationship you have. It's like, well, actually, why am I like, why did I eat this? Oh, I was stressed out because I was running immediately. Well, and then there's a couple whys that need to be asked, right?
And then you last time you made also a question, or I forgot to add on that about the food. When you say what is the bio and what is the let's talk about that.
Sure.
It's funny because me looking for organic bio food all the time. I would see a shop saying bio. This happened to me in Albania mostly, and I would go in and I see there is nothing organic in there. And then several times, and then I said, oh, now I realize bio, they mean natural. So, and then I decided to sit down and write. I had my blog, it still is there. I'm not writing in it anymore, but I should go back. And there is organic food or bio food, what is it? The title. And then I write there about the distinction between what is analog food, because there is analog food, unfortunately, what is natural, and what is organic or bio.
Okay.
So analog food, for which we are not aware of, is this sort of creams that we have. We have it here, hopla or halta, or I don't know how they are called, which is not milk.
Okay.
It's not dairy at all.
Oh, it's just completely...
And that's why it's called analog. It's not the real deal.
Okay.
Or cheeses that contain no dairy at all.
This is like, so the Velveeta cheese comes to mind, which is the US, which is like the cheese whiz that's sprayed out,
Yes,
right?
that's
like,
not cheese.
like,
so they should be forbidden to be called cheese, but it's because it's not. But unfortunately, people fall for that. And this is the analog food.
Okay.
There are all sorts of that. Margarine is an analog of butter. Terrible.
Like people, and again, it's because people think fat is the devil kind of thing.
Because of that.
And vegetable oils and these things, right? Like.
And then toxic from the vegetable oils, seed oils.
Yes.
They are horrible.
But unfortunately, it's sort of, well, they're cheap.
They're just cheap.
Yeah.
And then there is this organic or bio, which is certified. It doesn't mean that it's the best, but it has certain standards.
Okay.
Yeah. EU is a bit more stricter than US. And also this natural food is always much better in EU than in US.
Okay.
But people have to know. People deserve the right to know what is analog, what is natural, what is organic. So natural is not analog. It's like, okay, the milk is real milk. The cream is the real cream. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have hormones in it.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay.
Because to raise the production of milk, they pump the cows with estrogen, and estrogen would...
Again, going back to hormone disruption kind of, right?
Cancer, my cancer feeds on estrogen. So I have to cut all the estrogens out of my body as long as possible. So...
Which also plastics, by the way, right? Like
yes, plastics. I avoid water in plastics. I don't eat this any dairy product that is industrial. Only from my sources that I know.
Wow, okay.
And I go for that. That's why also in our restaurant we try to have male meat, like rooster, like steer, not a cow, because steer nobody cares. They don't give them hormones. They grow them there. Steer doesn't produce milk. And
looking back at each time, because I've always had at least one meat dish when I go to your restaurant, and now that you mentioned that, yes.
So we have male duck, male goose, I don't know, mallard or how it's called that in English, because in Albanian we don't have it.
But also,
we don't have the distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the male female terminology sometimes.
We say shotan, we say an, it's male.
Yeah.
Gusan is goose, male. And rooster, we have gel. So we try as much as possible not to have the female part because they are pumped with hormones. And antibiotics because they want to protect them because they produce eggs or they produce milk and the money makers.
Yeah.
And that's why we try.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's natural. Okay, it's natural milk, but it doesn't mean that it's full of hormones. It's natural cream, it's natural butter, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have all these to raise the production. But it's still natural. Okay. It's not analog.
Yeah.
It doesn't wreak havoc. Okay. For example, for margarine, we know that it blocks your brain and it literally influences the IQ. So you have to really beware when you give that to your kids. And then what else? And organic. Organic is with certain rules. There's no hormones, there's no pesticides, there's no herbicides. There are some organic pesticides and herbicides that are used, that are allowed, some oils like neem oil and stuff like that, but they are also from organic sources. Also, organic honey doesn't mean that they didn't give some sugar to the bees in the winter, but they have to use organic sugar.
Okay, so there is a little bit of investigating that needs.
Yes,
yeah.
But still is much better than everything else.
And so within these different terms, there are analog, and then you have natural, and then like the organic or bio. Like there's levels to it as well, right?
Yes. But still, it's the safest bet.
Now,
still, it's the safest bet if you don't grow your own food.
Sure. Then, okay. In terms of because I'm also conscious of time, we're going to have to wrap things up, sort of. But I'd love to kind of just one last. Hopefully it's not too many questions. But in terms of like navigating, then for someone like myself who's like, okay, I've been in Kosovo for 1 year now and living in Pristina, like navigating, what are like sort of maybe some, I wouldn't call it resources, but where, because you have your major food shopping chains, and then some of them you might find a few items here and there, but is there like somewhere that you would recommend, or where like aside from like the different food markets to get the produce, as well as then maybe going to different butchers, but like where are there because I see shops that sort of say that they sell natural foods or organic foods, but when I go in, I'm not really. If you always try to find the certified one, there are some that you get in Konad. You can get some organic food. You have to be careful and check it. But there are some certified organic foods. Then there is Dishani Bio. You can find it in Albi. Okay. They have some really good stuff there. That are certified. Everything. Okay. And then I go for this, as I said, I would go for these products that are not big scale production type of vegetables and stuff like that. Okay. And I would go for everything wild. And I would go for what else did I want to say? Mushrooms. Okay. Safe. Yeah. Always. Really? Yeah. Okay. And is that because when you said the melons as well as like
melons, as I said, and
for mushrooms, out of curiosity, why? Because it's a natural they are grown naturally. They don't need much of like protection. Okay. And they grow fast, or they don't grow at all. Okay. So if they are grown, and they usually they don't grow if the criteria are not met, and the environment is not. They just don't. Sometimes we ask for these producers, do you have? No, it didn't succeed, and it can. Yeah, so it's the very safe bet.
the mushrooms. What else? There are other products that, beans, legumes, who are less sprayed than other products. You go. What else? Let me think. Eggs. Eggs are not like toxic or anything, but the problem with eggs is that nourishment. They don't have enough of nutrients if they are not they haven't been eating outside, and if they are
that's
free
another
range,
kind of rabbit hole, right? In terms of,
but they are not problematic.
Okay.
They wouldn't wreak havoc.
I mean, I think when it comes to a lot of meats and sort of eggs as well, like the whole free range versus sort of factory farmed and stuff like that, right? It goes into also that.
And I would tell one thing about what I found out about the salmon.
Yes, I've recently read a lot in terms of like the fish farms versus it's actually horrifying.
It is horrifying, and peddlers, they back off. Never, ever buy salmon from shops. Never, ever. It's toxic. They feed it with so many bad things, and then they pump color into it.
That's a big one, right?
Because you think you are eating
something
healthy.
Nice, right? Healthy.
Yeah. Another thing about fish, I would always buy tinned fish. Because
sardines, for example.
Sardines.
I'm a big fan of sardines. Yeah.
Because it's the freshest fish that goes into there. Because these big companies, even though they are bad guys, these big companies, they fish, they do it immediately on the boat. And it's one of the freshest.
The one thing that I do, and maybe, I don't know if you disagree, please do so, but it's sort of, or if you agree, even better, but like I do find it, or I'm careful when it comes to the different tinned foods, the oils that they use, right?
Yeah, go for olive oil, just natural.
And I find it hard here to find sometimes often it is with sort of,
it's always with seed oil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or with
Try
a sauce, right? There's, and it's like, why can't So.
Yeah, as I said, I tried to buy. I usually buy in Conad because there is a section of organic.
Okay.
So I go and buy only in these shops where they have organic. Sometimes Viva also have from Coop, but very rarely that you can find some organic produce there as well. Albi used to have some before, and in this Dicioni Bio. But for fish, tinned fish, I would usually buy in Conad.
Okay. There's a
because
Conad
you
really
have a
close
choice.
to, your restaurant.
Yes.
Is that the one?
I found out about Conad in Albania before, and then I was really happy when they had it here. In Tirana, you have BOU, which is really a lot of organic.
Okay.
But I try to and meat I don't ever buy in shops. But if you're going for meat, try to get lamb.
Okay.
And goat meat, I don't know if there is, but yeah, that's the
Those
safest.
are safest.
The safest.
Okay.
Because it's goat. No one. Didn't you know that in Yugoslavia we had no goats?
No, I did not know that.
It was forbidden by law because, they were supposedly ruining our mountain, our forests.
Okay.
So it was forbidden to have a goat. So people don't, even in US, I found out that people don't eat goat meat.
No, I think in the US, unless it's like maybe, certain, I don't know, maybe the hunting culture, for example, right? But I don't think it's when it comes to the masses, they don't stray too far from it's just beef, maybe pork and chicken, right? And then fish, right? And then when it comes to even game meat, I think it's sort of a little bit, at least in from my experience.
For
unless someone is.
You mentioned pork.
Yes.
The irony for me, if I would go to a restaurant, I would ask for pork because that would be the safest meat that it's not like fully of estrogens because they don't get milk from porks. I would always ask, do you have pork?
I mean, pig is, I think, is quite often like a misunderstood animal.
It is.
Right? So, like, people think it's like, oh, it's this
It is.
messy kind of. No, it's actually like a really smart animal, right? So
I feel so sorry about it when I eat it. Oh my God. They are so smart. Goats as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And yeah, if you, for internationals, if you ever get to know anyone who hunts or anything, yeah, wild boar is gorgeous in Kosovo.
Okay.
It's just perfect meat.
Oh, wow.
You can taste.
Definitely had it at your restaurant, and it's certainly
you
a
can
delight,
taste what the boar had eaten. I mean, sometimes you can even taste the wild fruits in that meat. So yeah, it's gorgeous. It's good and it's safe. It's safer. You just have to cook it properly, and that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Florina,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I would love to do this again, if time allows.
We can have a full episode about oils and fats.
Yes, absolutely. This would be great to explore. I think there's a number of topics that we haven't covered, and certainly would be
Not
informative for people to kind of check out. So thank you again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yes, and if for those listening, if you haven't checked out Thana, please do. It's in the Arb area or /Dragodan area of Pristina. So thank you for tuning in. This was Never the Right Time, 103.5, 105.5 Urban FM. Thanks, guys.